You have been lied to your entire life. From the moment you started school, teachers and parents told you that the only way to succeed was to sit in a quiet room, focus until your head hurt, and never ever get distracted. They told you that forgetting was a failure and that sleep was for the lazy. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about studying is wrong? What if being a little lazy, changing your environment, and actually allowing yourself to forget are the real secrets to becoming a genius? It sounds crazy, but neuroscience proves it. Today, we aren't just talking about tips. We are going to break the rules and unlock the true potential of your brain. Introduction. Hello friends, and welcome back. Today, we are diving deep into a book that completely changed the way I look at education and self-improvement. It is called How We Learn by the renowned science writer Benedict Carey. Now, if you go on YouTube, you will see millions of people searching for how to learn anything fast. We all want that shortcut. But the problem is, we treat our brains like machines, like hard drives that we just need to fill up with data. But Benedict Carey argues that our brain is not a machine. It is a living, breathing, biological organ. It grows, it changes, and it has very specific, sometimes strange needs. In this video, we are going to walk through the science of this book, chapter by chapter, and by the end, you will have a completely new toolkit for mastering any skill, whether it's a new language, a musical instrument, or a complex university subject. The environment myth. Let's start with the first major rule we need to break, the idea of the perfect study spot. I'm sure you heard this before. Find a quiet corner, always sit in the same chair, and don't move. Science says this is actually bad advice. When you learn something, your brain isn't just recording the facts. It is also recording the sights, the sounds, and the smells of the room you're in. It binds the information to the environment. If you only study in your bedroom, your brain connects those memories specifically to your bedroom. The moment you walk into a different room, like an exam hall or a job interview, those connections involve a struggle to fire because the environmental cues are gone. Carey suggests we need to vary our environment. If you are learning English vocabulary, do it in the kitchen today. Tomorrow, take your notes to the park. The next day, maybe a coffee shop. When you change your location, your brain is forced to associate that vocabulary with many different backgrounds. This creates a much richer network of neural connections. It effectively decouples the knowledge from the location, making that memory flexible and strong no matter where you are. So stop sitting in one place. Move around. Alright, so now let's talk about something we all fear: forgetting. We usually panic when we can't remember a word or a fact. We think it means we aren't smart enough. But in the second part of our journey, we learn that forgetting is actually a tool the brain uses to prioritize. Think of it like cleaning a messy room. Your brain dumps the unneeded details so it can highlight what is actually important. But here is where the magic happens. Scientists call this the forgetting effect. Your memory is like a muscle. If you lift a weight that is too light, your muscles don't grow. You need resistance. The same applies to your brain. If you review something 5 minutes after learning it, it's too easy. You don't learn much. You need to wait until you have almost forgotten it. That moment of struggle, when you were trying desperately to recall a fact, that is when the actual learning happens. This leads us to the concept of spaced repetition, which is the scientific term for spacing out your practice. Don't study a word 10 times in 1 hour. That is useless. Study it once today, then wait. Review it tomorrow, then wait 3 days, then wait a week. Each time you return to the material after a break, your brain has to work harder to retrieve it, and that effort signals to your brain that this information is vital, locking it into your long-term memory. Moving on, let's look at how we structure our study sessions. Most people do what is called blocking. They study history for 2 hours, then math for 2 hours. Or if you're learning a language, you might study grammar for an hour, then vocabulary for an hour. However, research shows that a technique called interleaving, or mixing it up, is far superior. This is a concept often discussed in videos titled "Study Less, Study Smart," but few people explain why it works. When you focus on one single thing for too long, your brain goes on autopilot. It stops working hard because it knows what to expect. But if you mix things up, say 20 minutes of grammar, followed by 20 minutes of speaking practice, followed by 20 minutes of vocabulary, your brain constantly has to switch gears. It has to ask, wait, which rule do I use now? This feels difficult. It feels frustrating. You might even feel like you are learning less because you can't get into a flow. But that frustration is a sign of deep learning. By forcing your brain to constantly reload different programs, you are building a flexible mind that can adapt to new problems instantly. The role of sleep. Now, let's address the students who pull all-nighters and drink 5 cups of coffee to stay awake. Chapter 4 of the book gives us a reality check. Sleep is not wasted time. Imagine you have a secret teacher who works for you while you are unconscious. That is what sleep is. During the day, you gather information, but it is only when you sleep that your brain processes, organizes, and cements that information. It connects the dots between new ideas and old memories. The research is clear. People who study and then sleep outperform those who study and stay awake. Even short breaks and naps during the day are powerful. They act like a save button for your brain. So never feel guilty for resting. Resting is when the data is being downloaded and installed. This brings us to a controversial topic: tests. We usually hate tests. We think tests are just a way for teachers to judge us or give us a grade. But Benedict Carey argues that we need to change our mindset. Testing isn't about judgment, it is a form of learning. Scientists call this retrieval practice. When you read a textbook over and over, that is passive. You're just looking at the answer. But when you close the book and give yourself a quiz, you are forcing your brain to retrieve the information from scratch. Even if you fail the quiz, you win. Why? Because getting an answer wrong serves as a wake-up call to your brain. It highlights the gap in your knowledge. So don't just read, test yourself. Use flashcards. Explain the concept to a friend. Write down everything you remember without looking. This active struggle is far more valuable than rereading a highlighted page for the 10th time. The benefits of distraction. Let's talk about getting stuck. We have all been there. You are writing an essay or trying to solve a math problem, and you just hit a wall. You sit there for an hour, frustrated, staring at the screen. The book suggests a counterintuitive solution. Get distracted. When you're stuck, your brain creates a sort of tunnel vision where it keeps looping through the same wrong answers. You need to break that loop. Get up, go for a walk, do the dishes, listen to a song. This isn't just procrastinating. This is scientifically called incubation. When you step away, your conscious mind takes a break, but your subconscious mind keeps working on the problem in the background. It continues to search for connections without the pressure of your focus. That is why we often have our best ideas in the shower or while walking the dog. If you are stuck, stop working. A short distraction might be exactly what you need to solve the problem. Perceptual learning. Now, does all learning have to be hard work? Not necessarily. There is a type of learning described in the book called perceptual learning. This is learning without thinking. Think about how you learned your first language as a baby. You didn't study grammar books, you just listened. You observed. You copied. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It is constantly scanning the environment for rules and structures. You can use this as an adult too. If you're learning English, listen to podcasts while you cook. Watch movies. Surround yourself with the material. Even if you aren't paying 100% attention, your brain is picking up on the rhythm, the pronunciation, and the sentence structures. This passive input builds a foundation that makes the active studying much easier later on. Learning from mistakes. Finally, let's discuss the most important lesson of all, the value of making mistakes. In school, we are taught to avoid errors. But in the real world of learning, errors are gold. When you make a mistake and then correct it, your brain pays extra attention. It flags that moment as a high-priority event. We got this wrong. We need to fix it so we don't look foolish next time. This process creates a memory trace that is significantly stronger than if you had just gotten the answer right the first time. If you always speak perfectly, or if you only stick to things you already know, you aren't challenging your memory. You are stagnating. So, embrace the failure. Speak broken English. Get the math problem wrong. Then, correct it. That correction is where the growth happens. Conclusion and outro. So, let's review what we have unlocked today. To learn like a master, you need to stop acting like a robot. Move your body and change your study environment to build stronger connections. Space out your study sessions to let the forgetting effect work for you. Mix up your subjects to force your brain to work harder. Prioritize sleep because that is when the memory is cemented. Test yourself constantly, not for grades, but for practice. And finally, don't be afraid to step away when you are stuck, and never be afraid to make a mistake. Learning is a messy biological process. It involves rest, variety, and failure. But if you work with your brain instead of against it, there is no limit to what you can achieve. If you found value in this deep dive and want to continue improving your mind and your skills, please make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the video reach more people. And don't forget to subscribe to English Glow for more content that illuminates your path to learning. Keep practicing, keep failing, and I will see you in the next one.